YouTubers out there, this is Jerry Saravia the Movies. Now, keep in mind, I'm speaking as an avid Martin Scorsese fan. I think this director is among the finest directors of all time, no question in my mind. So keep that in mind. However, being the fan that I am, I've seen he has a vast palette of films that he has made. And we know he hasn't just done mob films, of which he's done only 3. It's not including The Departed, which was the Boston police force, where the mob sort of played a role, certainly, but it's not strictly a mob film. So, keeping that in mind, I didn't see, for the first time, this Silence, his last film. Of course, when it was playing, it was pulled from theaters so quickly that you could almost forget it was even there, and certainly a new film by Martin Scorsese how can this be ignored? But the story didn't quite grab me, although I'm sure someday I'll probably see it, because I've seen everything he has done, just about. Certainly all his major films. I haven't seen maybe all his early short films, but all his major films, I've seen every single one of them, and I have all of them on DVD and some on Blu-ray. So I've always been a passionate defender of Martin Scorsese. I think he's the type of director that really deals with morality. Morality in today's world, morality in the past, guilt, redemption, all these things. Greed. Essentially man's inhumanity of man, but he does it very well. So, I didn't see Silence. A story about 17th century missionaries in Japan didn't exactly grab me. The actors that are cast in this film, aside from Liam Neeson, didn't exactly grab me either. With all due respect to Andrew Garfield and the other guy who was in Star Wars, The Force Awakens, and a couple of others. His name doesn't even enter my mind at this moment. But he's got this new film, The Irishman. Netflix has agreed to finance the picture. It has a $100 million budget. It includes the return of Robert De Niro, who hasn't worked with Scorsese since 1995's Casino. So it's been a while, 22 years. It's also the first time that he's worked with Joe Pesci since Casino also, which has been 22 years. And, interestingly enough, Harvey Keitel has been cast in a film whom he hasn't worked with since The Last Temptation of Christ in 1988, so a little further back. Bobby Cannavale, who's appeared in Woody Allen's Blue Jasmine, but was also cast in the HBO series Vinyl, which was also produced by Scorsese and Mick Jagger. The pilot episode was directed by Scorsese, and he's cast in the film. And Al Pacino, which would make the first time that Pacino's ever worked with Scorsese, is cast as Jimmy Hoffa. Now that right there put me off. I said, how can Al Pacino play Jimmy Hoffa? Now, from what I understand, this is the story of a guy named Frank the Irishman Sheeran, who was a mob hitman. This is based on a 2003 book called I Heard You Paint Houses. Okay? So the author, Charles Brandt, had interviewed Sheeran over a 5-year period. And apparently this guy has confessed to 25 hits for the mob, but specifically, allegedly involved in the death of Jimmy Hoffa, who was missing in July 1975. Robert De Niro would be cast as Sheeran, but Al Pacino's Jimmy Hoffa. Now, apparently what they're doing is they're going to use visual effects and kind of like Benjamin Button de-age, if that would be the right word, or at least make the actors look younger in their early days. But Al Pacino's already in his early 70s. I don't see how he can play Jimmy Hoffa. And, you know, truth be told, I gotta say this. I saw clips from Glengarry Glen Ross, and I don't mean the film from 1992, but when it was briefly revived on Broadway, I think, if not off Broadway, but I think Broadway. David Mamet's excellent play. Al Pacino played Jack Lemmon's role from the film, and he just seemed listless. Now, maybe that was his choice, I don't know, but Jack Lemmon showed a little more energy than Al Pacino's take on the same character. Since he's in his early 70s, maybe he will still show some vigor in the role of Jimmy Hoffa. You have to. as Jimmy Hoffa. I mean, look at Jack Nicholson as Hoffa in the film Hoffa. I mean, he showed vigor and strength, and I mean, it was an amazing performance. Maybe not the most amazing film, but it was certainly an amazing performance and worth seeing for that reason. But I can't see Al Pacino's Jimmy Hoffa. Now, look, maybe I'm wrong, and this might end up being a terrific film. I don't know. But then again, it just puts me off a little bit. I don't know why. And I think it's because Scorsese, for those of you who don't know, who haven't really read about Scorsese in articles and interviews from way back, Goodfellas was a film that he really didn't even want to do, technically. Although he felt inspired, certainly, to do it after reading the book, Wise Guy. But the fact is that he didn't want to just do a gangster picture because they had been done already. And he had to show something else. It's the derailment of the American dream, as it were, and how these guys really do operate, which hadn't been really shown before in any mob film prior to Goodfellas. The anthropological survey of such characters. And Casino was really about greed, which he later took even further in The Wolf of Wall Street, which of course doesn't deal with the mob, but nonetheless, the idea is still the same, that theme. But these are not films that I think he didn't, at the same time, Casino was not something he really wanted to do after The Age of Innocence. In fact, after The Age of Innocence, he wanted to do Kundun, which is certainly one of the most ambitious films he's ever made, about the Dalai Lama. Which brings me back to Silence. That may be in that vein, perhaps. I just don't, for some reason, it doesn't grab me the same way, the idea of Silence, as Kundun did, or Last Temptation of Christ, which is, I guess, technically his trilogy on faith, religion, and compassion. So who knows? I mean, I'm judging a movie, I didn't really want to do this. I'm judging something before I've seen it, and I don't normally do that, but it doesn't quite grab me. This story would have grabbed me more had another actor been cast. I mean, what about Bobby Cannavale as Jimmy Hoffa? And in fact, Al Pacino could have played Sheeran. You know what I mean? I mean, although it's really wonderful that Robert De Niro's finally decided to work with Scorsese again after so long. And, it's nice, the return of Joe Pesci and Harvey Keitel. I mean, all these guys together. I mean, certainly it's going to garner some interest, regardless of what the Forbes magazine article said, which is that nobody's really interested in seeing this movie for some reason, because no Hollywood studio would finance it. So it's unlikely to be a big hit. And he's got a point in one regard. Casino was not really a huge box office success when it came out, and neither was Goodfellas. It was a modest success, but not big. Al Pacino's Jimmy Hoffa? No. I don't see how that's going to work. That's the thing that I think that's the one element that put me off. Because when I first heard about it a year ago, I thought, well, that's probably just a mistake from IMDb. I mean, Al Pacino's not really going to play Jimmy Hoffa, is he? Apparently he is. So I don't know how that's going to work. Anyway, if you like what you I have to say, please tell me any thoughts you have on Martin Scorsese, positive or negative, about any of his films and about this particular project, The Irishman. And if you like what you hear, please subscribe and hit like, and I'll bring more videos to you. The more likes, the more subscribers I get, the more of these I can do. Believe me, I do have a lot of films that I could actually be discussing on here. And check out also my site. It's a blog that I have listed somewhere in here. You'll see it. That's it. So, this is Jerry Saravia at the Movies, signing off.